Hello, my name is LING and today I'll be presenting my topic, Explicit Online Blended Learning, Improving Punctuation for Year 5 Students with Learning Disabilities. In the academic year of 2021, home-based learning has been carried out due to social distancing measures. So for my English class with my Year 5 students, I use Google Meet for my interaction with them, Google Classroom to manage the tasks and learning materials, and WhatsApp is the main communicative tool. And for the past few lessons, I found that students frequently make basic punctuation mistakes, especially in their writing task. So, what's the common causes? According to Suleiman, Ben Ameda, and Mahala, the main causes of incorrect usage of punctuation include lack of writing practice, lack of English readings, and unfamiliarity with punctuation rules. However, Hashim and others, they added in a motivation factor. While Gabu, Mariadas, and Kashev, and Havela and others, they mentioned that native language can also influence in their punctuation rules. So, reflecting on my own teaching practice, my mispractice actually stemmed from my assumption that students have mastered the use of capitalization, full stops, question marks, and commas throughout their learning years. That's why I have not given much particular practice or explicit teaching on punctuations. So what is punctuation? It is a part of English grammar which uses marks, signs to divide text into phrases and sentences to show pauses, emphasis, and to communicate ideas. So Suleiman and others, they mentioned that lack or incorrect use of punctuation may cause confusion, difficulty to grasp meanings, and misunderstandings. For example, let's look at this simple sentence, let's eat children. But if I omit the comma in the middle, it will become let's eat children. So these sentences uses the same words, however, the omission or the incorrect uses of punctuation may change the meaning entirely. That's why, due to the importance, our National Private School Standard Curriculum for English, specifically for Learning Disabled, LD, they mention that it is one of the writing components objective to enable students to master the ability to use capital letters, full stops, question marks, and comma appropriately in guided writing at sentence level. So, why is it important to master punctuation? One of the reasons due to it's one of the curriculum standards demand, and punctuation is actually a part of effective writing component as it will affect the meaning conveyed through the writing. So, Suleiman 2020 mentioned that the risk of this problem persists in their future learning language is high if we do not tackle it early on. So, Santangelo 2014 mentioned that in addition, mastering basic punctuation skills to the point of automaticity will provide them the mental resources and reduce working memory for the more complex text production skill. So in the past studies, punctuation is actually a scarcely investigated area in second language research and even more limited for learning disabled. So Schumacher and others, they studied the effects of computerized instruction on mastery and generalized use of comma strategies for students with LD and middle school and high school. So their findings prove that intervention group outperformed the control group in editing task and sentence construction. On the other hand, Grant and Grant-Kopicus, they investigated the effects of contingency contracts on the correct use of punctuation marks in elementary students with LD. Although the study produced positive outcomes such as improved correct usage of punctuation marks and reduced teachers' effort, however, there are many drawbacks where it only causes momentary motivation increase. However, the motivation declines when rewards are stopped, and the rewards will eventually lose their value over time. That's why both researchers actually suggested to have alternative intervention to tackle this problem. So we can see that technology actually holds some positive impact for special education. So a systemic review on use of technology in teaching LD by Dogan and Delialogu 2020 concluded that technology holds positive impact on academic success of students with learning disabilities because of these few reasons. First, it can create individualized and flexible learning environments. It provides ample practice opportunities. It can give immediate feedback, and it supports students' control over their own learning process. So, while researching more on instruction for learning disabled students, I came across this theme, which is explicit instruction. Hughes and others, they mentioned that explicit instruction is an increasingly referred as an instructional method in the learning disabilities literature. So for EI, explicit instruction, there are 5 essential components, which are first, segment complex skills. So a complex skills will be segmented into chunks of little subunits, where each of them will be taught separately but accumulatively. And teachers need to model the content, such as a skill or strategy, clearly and concisely. And teachers need to promote student success using scaffolding. And students will need to be provided with ample opportunities to respond and teachers to receive their feedbacks. And fifth, teachers need to create purposeful practice after a lesson, and the practice will be followed by corrective feedback. So how do I combine these 2 elements of technology and explicit instruction? So it can be done using blended learning. However, in our pandemic situation, the conventional blended learning with teacher and students interaction in the physical classroom will be evolved with facilitation with technologies such as Google Meet, Zoom, and etc. So it is actually a combination of synchronous student-teacher interaction where teacher will discuss detailed explanation on the key concepts and modeling of a strategy. And for the asynchronous online lesson, students will have their own free time to access the learning materials at their own time and pace. So the research focus for this study is to investigate the effect of using explicit instruction with Web 2 tools through blended online learning in teaching punctuation. The general objective is to investigate the effect of using explicit blended online learning in teaching Year 5 students with learning disabilities on appropriate usage of punctuation in sentences. There are 2 specific unit objectives, which is first to determine the effect of using the intervention on mastery of basic punctuation, which include capital letters, full stop, question mark, comma, in sentences for Year 5 students with learning disabilities. The second objective will be to determine students' perception regarding the use of the intervention. So our focus group for these studies is the class of Year 5 students with learning disabilities. There are 2 students participated in these studies because each of them presented certain problems in using punctuation marks, which will be shown in the diagnostic test later. So both of them, Andy and Anson, these are their pseudonyms. Both of them are male, aged between 10 and 11, multi-ethnicity, and their learning disabilities are slow learner and speech delay, respectively. So this research is an action research. Chemist and Metaggart spiral model was used where it has 4 stages of planning, acting, observing, and reflecting. So the first stage, planning. So before in the planning process, I did a diagnostic test as a preliminary investigation to substantiate the problem. So there are 8 items in the diagnostic test in the form of a writing task where they will need to rewrite sentences with appropriate punctuation. So it was administered online. And from the results of their diagnostic test, you see that both students actually can remember the use of capital letters in the beginning of the sentence and the full stops. However, there still need some intervention in terms of using capitalized pronoun I, capital letters for proper nouns, usage of question marks, and usage of commas. So in action planning, the main objective is to use capital letters, full stops, question marks, and comma appropriately at sentence level. This is a big task. That's why I segmented it into 3 smaller units. First, capitalization and full stops. The second unit, question marks, and third, commas. So for this, I prepared 3 online interactive modules using Blend Space. And each later module will accumulate the sub-skills or content from previous modules. And each online module will contain content standard, focus and learning standard. And we will have multiple multimedia resources such as YouTube videos, songs, websites, graphics, and so forth, pertaining to the topic of punctuation, which will be taught in respective units. And then after the resources, there will be a summarized notes and strategy. Then discussion board, where teachers and students will discuss examples using strategies, and quizzes linked for their practice exercise, and blank space built-in quiz for formative assessment. So as the assessment tools for this research, I prepared 3, which is first an observation checklist. It will be used to observe participants' response pertaining to the rules of punctuation and their behavior during lessons. This will be feedback for teacher and also for the analyzed data for these studies. And second test, the test acts as a pre-test and post-test. Both pre-test and post-test have the same items. It was developed using quizzes and it has 25 items, 20 of MCQs and 5 structured. So both tests will be conducted online, but students can only answer it once, and there won't be any answers or immediate feedback for the test. And for interview items, there are 6 interview items, which is used to gauge best participation's perception on the intervention. So second stage, implementation, acting. So before the intervention, I did the pre-test with students, which was conducted online by giving them the quizzes link through WhatsApp or Google Classroom. And next, there is an explanatory session where I explain to students to prepare them how to access and navigate blank space modules. So entering into the intervention stage, where first session, capitalization and full stop, the second session, question mark, and third session, comma. So in each session, there will be first the synchronous teacher-students interaction using Google Meet. So in this stage, teacher will introduce learning standard, gauge their prior knowledge, recap what they have learned in previous lesson, and review their formative quiz. So here, feedback will be given to students, corrective feedback, where they will discuss and do some corrections. And for the next stage, punctuation rules will be explained using multimedia representation and module materials. And then teacher will explain the strategy how to do the correct punctuation on sentences. Next, teacher will model using examples of sentences, and some more new sentences will be used as discussion with students. So during these discussion sessions, students' response and their behavior will be recorded on the observation checklist. So after determining that the students are able to know and use the strategy for the certain punctuation marks, so they will enter the next stage, which is the asynchronous personal learning session. So students, in their own free time and space, they can revisit the learning resources in blank space modules. And they can practice with the quizzes exercise, which will have multiple unlimited attempts for them to practice, and they will be given immediate feedback. And then after they have practiced and they have confidence, then they can answer the blank space built-in quiz. And in the same time, if they have any problems or anything to ask from the teacher, they can inquire and consult the teacher using WhatsApp. And after the 3 sessions, there is a post-discussion to review their performance in their third session quiz, and of course their corrective feedback. And for the post-test, after the post-discussion, there is a post-test which was also conducted online, and lastly, a semi-structured interview. So the results on the observation checklist shows that students do show progress of mastery when they are able to state the rules orally or show and state usage in sentence examples. So their progress can be seen through the withdrawal of prompts towards the end of the sessions. However, we can see that Anson, in particular, require more prompts or scaffolding because he has a concerning inhibiting factor, which is his very, very limited vocabularies. So we can also see that familiar rules such as the use of capitalization for first letter in a sentence and full stop, they are able to retain this knowledge and skills throughout the whole sessions. And for behavioral record, both participants were fully engaged during all the lesson sessions. Now Andy is particularly very active students. He always responds and readily gives response whenever questions was posed. But Anson, however, he needs more prompts, encouragement, and time. And he has much less confidence compared to Andy, where he will attempt to respond, but with very soft voice. But towards the end, he did try, when we've given prompts, encouragement, and more time for him to respond, he can do it. So we can see the repetitive and accumulative nature of explicit instruction that enables the students or participants to familiarize with learning contents and reinforce their past learning. Okay, so behaviorist theory, the repetitive nature and the drilling nature in this instruction actually in line with behaviorist theory of language learning, where it states that language learning is a mechanical habits formed through a process of imitation, such as modeling from teacher and repetition from drills and practices. In the test results, so we can see that there are big differences between their pre-test and post-test, with average increase of 59% from their pre-test to post-test scores. So both participants improved greatly in their mastery of punctuations. So it shows that this intervention has positive impact in their knowledge and mastery of punctuation in sentence. Next, the semi-structured interview. So through the semi-structured interview, which is conducted individually, so they have given positive comments towards blended online learning with Web 2 tools. So the positive comments or their express of preference on this method was due to the following reasons. First, the usage of multimedia materials. So you can see Anson said he likes the quizzes, or he liked quizzes and he can rewatch the video. And Andy also said that the materials are all okay. Anson likes it because it has songs and videos. So the other reason is that the ability to revisit learning materials. So Anson said he liked it because he can rewatch those videos. And flexible learning, and they did mention that it's very good because can learn things all places, like example at home. Okay, and immediate feedback. He did mention that he likes the immediate feedback setting or the ability, the confidence of the Web 2 tools, because whenever he answers wrong, it gives him the right answer. He can get immediate feedback from his response. So all these positive comments can be referred to their motivation factor. There's a motivation element here because they mentioned that they did experience an enjoyable learning using this intervention. And it shows that students have awareness towards their own learning. They responded as being smarter and learn a lot of punctuation, because now from asynchronous learning sessions, they actually have their own autonomy towards their own learning. So research reflection, we can see that students with learning disabilities benefited from explicit instruction in a blended learning environment and with the help of Web 2 tools, because it can cater students' need of more flexible learning. And this intervention is actually practical and relevant in our pandemic situation and of course their background. And the implementation of the whole research is satisfactory as participants fully participated in this research, but there are still aspects of improvement for my future practices, where you can see there's a need for me to find ways to help Anson increase his self-confidence, and they did comment regarding the quiz, where he said it's a bit hard, so I might need to consider students' level and arrange the difficulties of the learning task. And one other thing is that you can see the limited vocabularies has an effect on their learning. So this can provide a new opportunity for future research. So there are 3 recommendations for future research. First, to investigate the use of blended online learning in teaching other grammar components. Second, to use blended online learning in teaching vocabularies. As you can see that my students do have low vocabularies levels. And third, to use other digital tools in blended online learning. Okay, since there are so many types of digital tools available for teaching now, so it's better to explore wider possibilities to expand students' learning experience and also to improve on my own teaching practices. That's all. Thank you.